Reverend Dr. Heiwa No Bushi, or Bushi, as he is called by the community, is a man who doesn't require much lip service. His acts of kindness and love are a testimony to his dedication. He has a dedication to service. He is a person of his word. He leads with integrity and reverence. I heard about Bushi from a friend of a friend and was intrigued by his unique history. He's a veteran sensei, a grandfather, and he has taken a vow of poverty as a Buddhist monk. I thought, wow, he sounds prestigious. So I'll send him a message on Instagram. And that was last spring. Since then, we've shared everything from our passion for service to the community, Jedis, and our love for the 90s rock and alternative music. I feel so blessed and honored to call Bushi not only a reverend and friend, but family. And I'm pleased to share that he's accepted the position of a program director in our local community in Portsmouth, community chaplain at Sattvic Space. Bushi, welcome to the Fellowship of Inner Light. And now Sarah will share more about his mission.
Thank you, Candace. I just want to share a few things from, this information was in our newsletter, and the Bodhi Crystal Path was pioneered in 2008 by a former Christian minister turned Buddhist monk, the Reverend Dr. Heiwa No Bushi. He forged the path both personally and communally as a way to offer deeper spiritual wisdom, true love, compassion, and clarity of mind through two of the world's great religions. Heiwa No Bushi now places his teachings under the moniker of Bodhi Crystal, which means enlightened Christ. This bonding is an amalgamation of the two rich religious streams of Buddhism and Christianity. Bodhi Crystal practitioners push the limits of theological rationale. Many of our students, members, and supporters are eclectic in their religious and theological lineages and look for a much deeper acknowledgement and expression of the inner experience of their own holiness as a human being. Through guided and independent practices, the Bodhi Crystal Path has helped countless Christians and spiritualists to expand the reach of vision and possibilities in their own lives as wholly human. Join me in welcoming our speaker, Reverend Dr. Heiwa No Bushi.
Can you hear me? All right, very good. So thank you, Candace and ma'am, for such a wonderful introduction. I didn't know all those things about myself. It's interesting, I spend so much time doing. You know, you kind of get lost in the doing, that on occasion for people to tell you what you've done, you know, it's quite shocking at times. So thank you. Thank you all. Thank you to Reverend Shelton. Shelton, is it? Yes. We have yet to fully get to know each other, but we shall. I want to thank you and all that supported you in inviting me here. I do thank you. So let's take about 2 minutes. And is that a ringing that I hear? All right.
You need to get close a little bit. Is it too close?
Is it too close?
I think it's not close enough.
How about that? Is that a little better? Very good, very good. So let's take a few minutes, 2 in particular, 120 seconds. From the moment that I say go, what we're going to do is we're just going to sit and we're going to breathe, and we're not going to try any mind trickery. No practice. Just 2 minutes. You see, 120 seconds. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right, go. Bring your awareness and all of your attention back into this space. Two minutes, that's all it takes. Just to get in touch with your life. 2 minutes, all right. So again, I'm so very grateful to be here. I'm not exactly, and I'm for those of you that are engaging me for the first time, I think very openly, and I usually do not prepare for the engagement unless there's a theme, and this keeps me honest, you see. I have a cell phone, that's only because I don't want to lose it again. But I think there are a multitude of things that we could expound upon and offer, and we can benefit one another in this particular moment, you see. When I first came in, I saw all of the beautiful images and the colors and the energy of the place, and the many years of work that have gone into creating this power plant of a spiritual center. As it is. I was talking to my dear friend, and one of the people that are responsible for bringing me up from North Carolina to Virginia, Mr. Maury Cook. And he was telling me of the history of this place, you know, and many times that he's been here and its development over the years. And he spoke of the tremendous energy and the work that this center has been doing. And I feel all of that. So I thank you. I thank you for being the thing, being the place, being the energy, being the source. I should like for all of us to examine the core teachings of both the Buddha and Jesus. Can we do that? I should like for us to discuss particularly the effect of following the core teachings of both Jesus and the Buddha. And when I say the core teachings, to kind of narrow it down so that we don't wonder which sutras or which tradition that we're speaking of, I should like to speak to the two that are central to both traditions, spoken and taught, admonished by Jesus, and that is to love God and to love your neighbor. To love God and to love your neighbor. This is the synonymous teaching of both Jesus and Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. This is parallel. Yet isn't it interesting? Throughout the course of human history and our evolution, we have held on to religion, these two principles. We have held on to these two admonishments, these two golden rules, if you will. Yes? Yet somehow we cannot transform our actions on the common theater of life into such. And I should like to examine very deeply, if we might, with the time permitted, how we can reach that, how we can become the loving entity that is required to engage both the spiritual world and the human being. Is that all right? How can we develop what is necessary to engage a deep connection with your spirituality? I'm not talking about sending, $2 or $3 in the mail and get a little vial of water back or something. Spiritual materialism, we're not talking about that, you see. What we're talking about is really developing the stuff, the power. All of the years of human history have developed a lexicon of language, a replete history of words and linguistic terms that we so sometimes endeavor, to act out. Like love. Love is what to the Christian exile? What is this to the one who needs and then God's children cannot provide? What is love there? How is it defined in those terms, you see? You understand the illustrations that pop to mind when I say such? There have been many times that the church has been at the forefront of action, doing, changing. Very often do we get an opportunity to put our hands on the handlebars of the chaos. And we will redistribute the force, you know, we'll pray about it. God's got somebody somewhere that can fix that, right? We can take our hands off of it. And then we wonder through the years, why is it that people are so apathetic? You see, the two commandments spoken and taught by the Buddha himself, great devotion to meditation, and then a glorified demonstration of bodhicitta, loving kindness, you know, devotion to the temple, to oneself, and the devotion, you know. The language besets us. You see this? Because what I'm speaking of and the energy from which is emerging from my soul, in many cases, may not resonate with the language through which you've been practicing. And that language itself may just be, you know, the thing that needs to be tweaked. Right? Yeah. Speak those things that aren't as though they were. And then there is what? The action. It is very simple. You speak those things that don't exist, right? In your creative processes, in your remedy processes, in your overcoming processes. You have to speak those things that aren't. And it may sound foolish, but how's the language going for you so far? You understand this. So the methodology for transforming yourself and your neighbor is a stout dose of practice yourself. Love God. Many of us have great devotion, right? There are churches all over this country. There are preachers somewhere right now with diamond-studded cufflinks who are getting ready to speak the word of God. Imagine that. But to many, those that no longer understand the language of love that emerges from the Christian tradition, you understand this? All they understand is that there's no greater hate like Christian love. You understand this? And so how do we transform it? We go deeper. You must go deeper. And I'll tell you why, at a very root level, it is necessary for you to go deeper. If you do not delve into the abyss of your spiritual practices, your spiritual life, your religious traditions, then you will forever aid and abet in the fizzling away of basic sanity. I often say, and I say the simplest things over and over and over and over again. There's nothing fancy about what I say. My fiance knows, and Candace knows, and those of you that have heard me for years, it's the same thing. All of us are victims of the post-traumatic stress disorder of our parents. Or I heard the brain grease Candace. I felt that. Well, now, there we are. I see the eyelids of your mind starting to emerge, you see. All of us are victims of the post-traumatic stress disorder of our parents. Whether or not your parents brought you up well and you were happy and you had flowers and candy and everything was wonderful, or if you emerged from very desperate and dismal circumstances, it really doesn't matter. By the time that you turn old enough to set off on this path on your own, your core religious beliefs have already been beset. They're already programmed. You will begin an independent journey beginning with that knowledge. Think about how many years it has been, 20, 30 years, with that measure and that measure only of spirituality, yet you still don't understand your neighbor. And you still don't see that maybe some of the personal habits, some of the ideals and the theories that you have in your own mind are the problem that causes much of the ruckus around you. The problem with us that are right is that we're right. Isn't that right? And then we like to cross-reference our rightness. Where did you learn that from? Mom and dad. When they say this, you say that. And so there's always this psychological referencing. When you reference love, where and from what source do you pull your information? If your form of compassion for your neighbor has merely been to pray for them, when there have been tacit things that were needed, you understand this. You see the distress, you see the trouble, you see the turmoil, you see the danger, but you also see the need, right? And then we do what? What does the mind say? What does the undeveloped heart of bodhicitta say? Let us find a comfortable resort. Let us find a remedy that is suitable to our conditioning and our level of comfort. Isn't this right? But look at the command across Buddhism and Christianity. Love God. Now, I think somewhere in there it says, with everything you got, with all your love, all your heart, all your beans, all your cookies, all your weenies, you love God with everything. Which means that you practice the tenets of love. Agape. You all know the three tenets of or the three words in the Greek language for love, right? Yes, there's eros. Eros is more of a romantic love. This is a love that is expressed between boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, you know. And then there's phileo. Phileo is one where you have your chum. This is the guy that you've known for 40 years of your life, and he keeps all of your secrets and you keep all of his, and both of y'all lie to everybody else. You understand? This is that kind of love. And you'll go to the grave with that kind of information, won't you? Because you may have to pay taxes on some things, all right? Or the statute of liability, and run out, you know. And then there's the third. And that is called agape love. Now, this is the one that counters our contemporary conditioning, where we've been taught to love what we like, where we've been taught to love what feels good to us. We've been conditioned to like what the rest of the team likes, or what the rest of the family likes, or what the rest of the group likes. You understand this? And this is our most common conditioning. This is how we do it on a regular basis. But then the two greatest teachings, side by side, in both traditions, teach us otherwise, do they not? They say to love God with everything that you've got, all that you come with, you love God. And yet we know how to erect brick and mortar and put in some fancy cushions on some benches and mistreat the people who come in. Yes, we understand Eros. We live in the most sensual society in all of the human world that has ever been in existence. Everything around us is sensuality. Everything around us is centered around vanity and attainment. We have the most educated society that man has ever known. You've got 2- and 3-year-olds who know how to pick out a lithium-powered phone and go to all of your business. And then if you've not treated them well, they know how to put it out on Facebook all while you're at work. You see. Yet we don't know how to see horizontal eyes and vertical noses, and that's it. We don't know how to see that everybody else is trying to make it with the information behind those two eyes the best that they can. We don't know how to see past our opulence, to see that even though you may drive what you drive and they have what they have, behind those eyes, because they are cultivating, emotions and thought and reasonings and rationales from the same soil of America. We have not known how to see past all of that. And so the first practice is serious devotion. Serious devotion. I was a preacher's kid. I hope I have time to tell this story. Do I have time to tell this story? I was a preacher's kid. And my grandmother wanted to preach in the Baptist church. But there was an obstacle, as she used to call it. There were men folk. This is the South, in the Baptist church. And she wanted to preach. Not wear slacks. Why, they may have held a committee for that. But she wanted to preach. But the obstacle was there were men folk. And she had a grandson who was myself. And I was 6 years old, and she started teaching me words. My grandmother said, "The word of the Lord is so powerful that before I die, they will hear it." Right? And for years, from 6 up until 15 years of age, what she did was she groomed me to be able to introduce her, so I'd get up there and I'd articulate and orate really, really well, and she'd put on a little bow tie and some Buster Brown shoes on me, right? You remember Buster Browns? Yeah. And I'd get up there and I'd introduce her. And that would make the fourth Sunday of every month more appealing to the community. Oh, she's got this wonderful little boy, And what he does is he introduces her, and he does a rousing job, of really talking about his grandmother. He's really proud, you can tell. And she knew this would happen. We're talking about action now. If there's a problem, there needs to be a methodology, right? She was devoted to God so much in the message serving God and loving mankind so much that in Buddhism we call it skillful means, right? She figured up a way, using the karmic forces that were there, to introduce her message into society. So for years she groomed me, and every Sunday or every event that she had to preach at, I was there. By the time I was 15, I was, standing about 5'10" and a half, 5'11", somewhere in that. So I'm a tall, lad, and I'm introducing her. I've got more passion. I've been doing it for 9 years, so I got a little movement in me, a little sass in when I do it. You understand? But I had done it so much that the places I was doing it at and doing it from felt good. I was no preacher, but I was allowed in the pulpit, and my grandmother still, had to preach down there on the floor with a little lady. Where's the lady? Like over here with the little bench, and they introduce off to the side. You couldn't be in the pulpit in the church, But they allowed me to do that only because I was a male. Isn't that terrible, right? They didn't know what she was doing, though. We're talking about action. When there's a problem, you have to fix it. If apathy is the problem, compassion needs to be the remedy. Not guns, don't tear down more trees to write more ink on. You understand? You change the product, you change the market. And so the action for her was simply this. I'm going to train this boy, and I'm going to teach him how to read, and I'm going to teach him these and the classics and whatnot. And the appeal, it strengthened her message. People started listening to her, and she had a very powerful message. Very powerful message. A powerful message. And as a result of it, of all that she did, I caught on to it. The practice of the thing, it started to make sense to me. I didn't understand what she was doing at first. This work of instilling into me, coming in contact with other people, regardless of not, or as to whether they wanted to be in contact with you. You understand? So there has to be some action, something you have to do to change the outcome. So what is it with regards to serving God? Go deeper. Look beyond the words. Go beyond the thoughts. Be the thing. Don't talk about Jesus, be Jesus. There's a lot of literature about Jesus. There's somebody right now in some fancy church with mega people in it talking about Jesus. Be Jesus. There's a side note I want to make here. If you think serving God is going to be easy, you're wrong. It is going to require of you a great deal of your psychology, as it is. There's a psychological lesson in everything about serving God. For instance, the conditionings that you had for most of your life that make you comfortable, those things you're going to have to question. So that you may find new space. What, you think you got it now? This is good enough for the next 30 or 40 years of your life? You think what you know about God now is going to suffice you as the world emerges and rapidly descends into, chaos and apathy? You have to go deeper. Commit yourselves more to your practices. And then the ultimate, the second practice, love your neighbor. One of the things I teach all of my students is this. If they, people say, oh, I want to be a student, that's wonderful. What you're doing is great. You do this between the two. I want that. I said, great. All right, tell you what you do. For 24 hours, and I want you to come back to me. And Candace knows that I do this. What I want you to do is practice not liking or disliking anything. Now, I saw smoke come out of most of your ears when I said that. What do you mean? Just that simple. I did not specify, did I? I did not say, don't like the Cowboys, but like the Miami Dolphins. I didn't say that. I said, practice not liking or not liking or disliking anything. What this is going to do is going to bring you psychologically and empathetically to the crossroads of whom you are in that particular moment. It's almost like what do you call them? The little wormholes in your life, you see. And it's going to stay there as long as you stay focused on that. It'll stay open. But right there, the moment that your conditioned minds tell you that, oh, this is good or this is bad, or you start feeling one way or feeling the other way, you know how that automatic thing the mind does, right? Your intentional practice is to say, nope. Not happening. You need some aiding in that. You need some training wheels. What you do is when your mind starts to do that and your heart starts to do that, you'll know your heart is doing it because you'll start feeling it and you'll start developing an emotion around it. And then you'll grab it, and before you know it, you'll start making it your own. And so what you do with that is when you start distinguishing good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, left, right, presidential or not presidential, you look down at the ground, and with every fiber of your focus, I mean every fiber, lose your mind in that particular moment. Every fiber, focus on the ground. Everything. I mean, give it your all. Look at the ground. First of all, because it's more intelligent than what you're doing. And if you don't believe that, you can do it with me right now. You can hold your highest belief. Hold it in your mind. Hold it right there, that Jesus is love, Jesus is love. Hold it right there, right? It doesn't matter. Hold it. Y'all, I'm serious. I mean, y'all do something. Hold something in your mind. Burger King, hold it in your mind right now. Or Flame Bro, Whopper. You hold it, whatever it is. Now hold your breath at the same time. And some of you already know who's about to win this foot race. You're going to have to breathe before that thought succeeds. You understand this? Now y'all stop turning blue. Y'all breathe. So the synonymous teaching, the one that makes more sense whatsoever, it's not about should we do this sacrament or do that sacrament. Is Theravada in Buddhism greater than Mahayana? You know, is the Buddhist teaching more potent or versus any other religion? Or Zoroastrian's evil? You know, or which is right or wrong? It's not about any of that. That's what you call the paralysis of analysis. And we love to do that simply because we are afraid to move anywhere. Is this good talk to you? You did understand I'm a Marine in robes now. It takes action. When you find yourself talking about love, cease talking about it. And then evaluate if you're doing something conditioned or if it can succeed the testing process. The testing process is it true what you're saying about love? Is it necessary at that particular moment that you're talking about love? And is it a kind of love? That third, I would love to, to delve into. Is it a kind of love? If your love looks and sounds anything like what I grew up on as a Southern boy, they're a mess over there. God bless their soul. Let me tell you something. You don't have the right kind of love. You have a critical love, you see. You need to envelop a love that doesn't distinguish. Because the higher the distinguishing that you give it, the higher of the importance that you give it, it will rule supreme in your mind. And let me tell you something about your board of directors. I call my mind my board of directors. There's 5 of them that live up there, you understand, and one tries to reign supreme. But you have, the board member called hearing, and then you've got the board member called seeing, and tasting, and touching, and so forth. You understand this? And you have to get in control of them, because they're going to govern your emotions. But if you don't have action to change the work that they're doing, it's easy to get stuck in a way and think that you're right. You see? All right. So, where am I with time? Am I good? We've got time? All right, good. Well, I got 5 minutes. All right. So, what I would love to do in the next 5 minutes, because I'll talk you to death. I will. In the next 5 minutes, I would love to be able to take questions and answers, do somewhat of a Q&A, if that's all right. Any questions? And I love for organized people to, y'all talk, y'all, it's all right. It's all right. I agree. I often say, speak only if you can improve upon silence.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, dear. Thank you. Yeah. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Yes, ma'am.
When you get to that place where you're saying no,
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at the ground and you're saying no,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you focus on what's there. You take every bit of your intention. If there's a grain of sand, if there's markings on the rug, you invest into that particular moment. The distraction, the physical distraction to look away, is the imminent action. It's often hard for us to face certain things unless we prepare for it first. It's a psychological process that we all go through. It's an anthropological development within our psychology. We usually have to take that breath or whatever it is. And in this case, especially when you're existing in some subconscious rhetoric, and this is automatic, the stuff that we tell ourselves. The immediate action is to take the mind and place it on something simple, but down. Downward is humbling. It sends a signal to the brain that sends a signal to both the heart. The heart will send it to the body, and it pauses. And it does that simply because we are vertical, upright, bipeds, and so we see horizontally, upwards, downwards, but forward motion for us, the amygdala gland, you got to move forward, for progress. But to pause, if we look down, our forward movement comes to an immediate, so it's a triggering for yourself psychologically. And then investing into what's there. I don't care if it's a crayon or, you're looking at your own toes and they aren't pedicured, like whatever, right? Like really, invest into looking at your feet. Examine them. They are yours. Own that spot, own that moment. And what that'll do after a few seconds, after a few moments, will allow the thought of what was trying to invade your mind, take over, right, to pass on. And there's generally another thought that's right there ready to take its place. And so you go back to tick-tock, reading time. Yeah, it's a really good thing, looking down. All right, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
you define agape love, please.
Agape love. It's unconditional. Yeah. It's none of the BS that we talk about. You know, unless it's actually sacrificial in a sense. And I don't mean agape love is not really sacrificial, but if you think about it in terms of how we can temporarily look at it, we have to give up something in order to really demonstrate love. You know, like for instance, a husband buying a wife a ring, you know, usually get a good ring, you know, a sacrifice, maybe a few months' wages to demonstrate to you through this ring that I love you. This is how we temporarily look at love. But to practice agape love, there is no prerequisite. It's just love. You love for the sake of the existence of the human being. Why, for God's sake, think about it. Waking up in the morning and everybody's gone. It's just you. You'd wish the dingbat was there, wouldn't you? Right? Yeah. So agape is it's unconditional. Yes.
So maybe just one.
Thank you, sir.